So I told the young lady, I said, well, what happens if I just decide not to do it now? I can just climb down and wait on y'all to come all the way back around. And I remember she told me, she said, all it takes is 1 second of courage. And after I did the first one again, it was, to me, it was the best experience. It was a freeing experience.
Welcome to the Crossing It Off podcast, where we believe living with intention through a bucket list lifestyle is a great way to bring yourself personal joy. As you are crossing items off your list, you're actually filling up your bucket. The more items you cross off, the more joy gets added, until eventually your joy spills over into the lives of those around you. Now let's start crossing it off together. I'd like to welcome Maricia DC Johns to the show. She describes herself as freewheeling, fierce, optimistic, and spiritual. Maricia, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so tell the listeners, what did you cross off your bucket list?
I crossed off ziplining off of my bucket list. It was something that I had thought I might want to do, and I got the courage to do it.
Okay, so where did the idea come from? Why was that something that you wanted to put on your bucket list?
Well, you know how you see when you're watching television, you see people ziplining and they tell you the wonderful experience that they had. And I've always been a fan of the Amazing Race. And so they take them to some wonderful places to zipline. So I thought, this I can do. I could do this. I knew I wasn't going to ever try bungee jumping. I had done the balloon ride, but I said, this is something that I think that I would like if I can only find some people to go with me, because the people in my family, my husband was not going to go.
Okay. And so what was that like as far as putting this experience together? Were you off in some exotic locale? Were you down the street? Where did you go ziplining?
Okay, we did 2 different times. And the first time was like a training thing. And I had 2 girlfriends to go with me. And one even, she made all the arrangements and everything. And I remember when we got there, she says, it's something I should know. And I was like, why? She said, y'all all have shirts on by pray for me and Jesus. She said, is it going to be this scary? So none of us knew. It was about maybe 20 minutes from where I live in Fort Worth. It was in Burleson. And they had different stages. Like the first little zip line was kind of like a little clothes hanger or whatever. And the guy even told us, you probably could touch the ground if you really wanted to. So you did that one, then they moved you up to the intermediate. And that one was a little bit harder. But as a former educator, I'm one of those people, I listened to what you said. So the long one, he told us, he said, if you start to turn, this is what you do. So everybody went and it was my time. So when I went, I started to turn. And I remember he said, we can throw the rope out to you. I said, no, I listened. I can make it. I can get myself back. It was just a fun experience. And it was something that you said, oh, I'm going to do again. And then my sister wanted to go. And this time we were in an exotic location. We were at Salamander Resort, and they had this zip line. And we went. My sister just zoomed down, and it was over the trees and everything, because every time you went to a different station, it was something a little bit different. And the harness was a little bit different, even though to me it was a lot better. So I get there, and guess who freezes? I freeze. I froze. My sister's over there just waving like, hey. And I was like, oh my God, what if I fall? So I told the young lady, I said, well, what happens if I just decide not to do it now? I can just climb down and wait on y'all to come all the way back around. And I remember she told me, she said, all it takes is 1 second of courage. And after I did the first one again, it was, to me, it was the best experience. It was a freeing experience. And like I said, we were over the trees, we were over little bitty ponds and whatever. It was just a really nice experience after I got that 1 second of courage.
Yeah, that's all it does take, because once you go, you're gone. So you said the Salamander Resort. Where is that located?
It's outside DC.
Okay.
And it was for my sister's birthday, and she had always wanted to go there. And it turned out to be a wonderful experience. And I got to meet the owner of the resort. Like I said, the zip lining, it was just it was a lot different than the first one. The first one was, you were learning how to do it. The
Hmm.
second one was you did it. Now I've heard they had one in Vegas and I'm going there soon, but I probably won't do it.
Yeah, it goes right down the main drag underneath lights and things.
Hmm.
So it's looks fun. So what was the longest? Do you know what the longest zip line was that you did during your two experiences?
I really don't remember what they said it was, but this one was in three stages too. You did a short one, then one that got a little bit longer, and then the longest one. I'm not sure how long it was, and it probably was not that long, but you know how you think, oh, it's gonna
Right.
be. Yeah, I don't think it was that long.
So what was it like for you once you were harnessed in and they attach you to the rig on the line?
Hmm.
What and take that 1 second of courage and you step off. What's the feeling that's going through your head when you do that?
I think it's a freeing spirit. And the one thing that they do that I like is that each station in both times that I did it, the one of the guides would go first to show you, because you start to think. But I think it's a freeing experience. It's like you're flying, but not on an airplane. It's just like you're just sailing along and you get to see the pretty colors of the trees and everything. And it just looks so nice. And you feel so good. You can feel the wind in your face. You can feel the wind. And it's like, I'm just flying. This is how birds feel.
Yeah, that is definitely how I felt when I did it. Is there something? So you said your husband wouldn't do it, and so what was the reaction from your family and friends when you say, "I'm going to go do this thing"?
My husband always says, I'll be there waiting on you when you get down, up, or wherever. He's not gonna go. A girlfriend of mine always says, her mother always says, there's God always takes care of fools and babies. So, but my younger children, my children, they were excited because they're more adventurous than I am. So they were excited. They would have done it in no time. They've done some things that I've always tell them that I could not do. So my kids were excited and they said, "Go for it, Mom."
Here at the Crossing It Off podcast, we are passionate about inspiring you in your bucket list lifestyle and empowering you to live out your list. We offer many resources to assist you in your bucket list journey, such as web resources in the show notes, bucket list mentoring services, my book Live Out Your Lists, a private Facebook group for you to share your bucket list success stories with others, and more. All of these can be found at crossingitoffpodcast.com. Find the resource that fits your need so that you can live out your list. Now back to the show. Nice. It's good to have people around you that are
Hmm.
supportive as you're trying to cross bucket list items off, that's for sure. So, Maricia, is there something about doing it that if someone said, "Oh, I don't know if I could zip line or not," or "I'm thinking about going and doing this," what's something that you would tell them if you do it, you have to X besides just the Nike answer? What of just do it? What's something that you would say, okay, if you're going to do this, make sure you.
Hmm. Make sure you don't think too much. If you think too much, you can think about things that are going to happen or could happen or might happen. So don't think too much. It reminds me of when my youngest child was taking swimming and she got to the big diving board and she was so excited. She ran off and she jumped. But the second time when she got up there, she stopped and she looked, and it seemed like it took her forever to go. So if you think about something too much, then you're not probably not going to do it. And it is that 1 second of courage. And once you step off, you're good. I'm not going to say don't pray. I pray over everything, but just that 1 second of courage. Don't overthink it. Do not overthink it.
Yeah, it's good advice. After doing this, you had it on your bucket list, you did it a couple times, you crossed it off. How did you change from having that experience and having crossed that item off your bucket list?
As I cross things off, and I call it my I'm gonna do list, as I cross things off, it just gives me a pat on the back. People don't have to think it's anything that's all that amazing or whatever, but I set out to do it and I did it. It's like anything else that you try to do. If you set your mind to it and you accomplish it, maybe it's not a big thing to everybody else. Maybe they've done something way more than you've done, and but it's a pat on my back. It's like I gave myself not a grade because maybe I didn't do it as well as I should have, but I completed it. I said I was going to do it, and I completed it. And so I move on to the next one.
How's that transferred into your life in general? Are there examples of now you're more confident, or you've just gone out and done some things maybe they're not on your list?
I did a marathon. I completed a marathon and we trained for it. Now we had to walk it, which I thought was, which most people thought was really easy to do. And I can remember I was working in public school when I did it. And I had told everybody, we had worked and worked and worked. And so we were going to Austin to do that marathon. And when I completed it, I remember it's funny, but a lot of people tell me, "Oh, I could have done it." But I remember the guys, the coaches at the school, because we walked it, they said after you walk like 3 hours, it becomes mind over matter. It
Hmm.
took us 7 hours. You had to have it completed in 7 hours, and it took us 7 hours. I accomplished it. We kept saying we were going to do it again, but no, I crossed that off, and we're going backwards now. We did the full marathon, then the half marathon, then the 5K. So we went backwards. And it was just an accomplishment that I did. People had tried to do it because they cut you off if you were not going to be able to do it
Yeah,
in 7 hours.
yeah,
They cut you off. So I was just really proud. And again, my youngest child is my biggest cheerleader. When people ask, where did I finish? And she might, she says, I don't know, but she finished. She
that's
got a
right.
medal. She did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I think it's amusing that people, say they can do stuff, and it's like, have you ever walked a day in Disney World or Disneyland? It's like 8, 9 miles, and there's a lot of other stuff going on there, but you're tired,
Mhm.
right? I mean, you get really tired. So being able to complete a marathon, walking or running, I don't care, is a pretty big feat.
I'll tell you a funny story about it. When I did finish, my husband was at the finish line again. He wasn't going to go. And so the guy said, do not let her go to sleep because they check you out as you come in. He said, do not let her go to sleep. He said, take her back to the hotel, let her get a shower, and then y'all go out and have something to eat. So the waiter comes over and asks me what I would like to drink. I said, liquor. It does not
Doesn't
matter
matter.
what kind, just
Yeah.
just something that's
Just
gonna knock me out.
just pour some stuff in there, no
Yeah.
problem. Marisha, what is something else on your bucket list that you'd like to cross off?
This is not something that I can train for, but I've had different people that I want to interview.
Mm,
And one of them is First Lady Laura Bush because she's in Dallas. And I said, because I've heard her speak a couple of times, and she's a former educator.
mhm.
And she just seems like the lady next door. She seems like you could have coffee with her and just have the best conversation. So I would really like to talk with her about her kids, about being married to the president, what it was like. Because I tell everybody, when she left the White House and she turned around and she waved to the American people, I say it was just something about her. It was the prettiest I'd ever seen her, the calmest I've ever seen. Her spirit just had looked like it had just changed.
Mhm.
And she was like, I'm going home to Texas. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I just want to talk to her. Not necessarily so much about the White House, even though I do want to say, there's not a job description for the First Lady.
Or a paycheck.
Yeah, and you have to wear these things, go out and have tea, and you probably really didn't want to have tea or anything. So yeah, I would love, love, love to interview her.
Is there one question, like if you could ask her like one thing that was like super on your mind that you hope she would answer regardless of the content, what would that be?
I think, and we probably couldn't print it. Who was somebody that you had to have tea with some person, some big person's wife that you said no, but you knew you had to do it.
Hmm.
You had to go and smile and whatever. That would probably be it, but it would be something that I would agree that we would not print.
Yeah. So if you were able to get that interview, where would that land for people to be able to see it?
It would land on my blog site, thisisyourbestyear.com, and on our YouTube channel, This Is Your Best Year. It would land there. It would probably land wherever I could put it if I could. Because I've looked up things to try to do it, but you have to go through this section to that section. And like when I was teaching, my last teaching job was at a community college, and we did write former President Bush to invite him over to our class, but we got the proverbial no. But I told the kids all we can do is try.
That's right.
We can try. So we tried. He among other people that we tried to get.
I think it's a little bit easier to do that on Zoom. Maybe a little bit. People have
Hmm.
a little bit more flexibility than they
Flexibility.
used to, but it's much better to have them in person
Hmm.
for sure. I wish I could do this show in person. That would be a whole lot of fun. So, Maricia, tell us, where else can we find you online? Where else? What else are you doing?
You can find us on the blog's Facebook page. This is your best year, which is also, we have a group page which you have to ask to be admitted to. And all we ask is that, you be nice to people. And we talk about a lot of things on there. But we have the Facebook page, the Facebook group page, YouTube channel, and Instagram. And they're all, This Is Your Best Year.
All right, I will put all those links in the show
Mhm.
notes so folks can find them very easily. Marisha, thank you so much for being here. I hope you still pursue that interview and that you get it. And I'll make sure you let me know so I can put it in the
I,
show notes. Once you do, I'll help you plaster it wherever you want.
everybody will know. Everybody will know.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.